I was very fortunate because I was invited to the Triumph 400 launch, and both the Johannesburg as well as the Cape Town launch, which I covered in a previous episode. But I really couldn't wait to jump on these bikes because I think it's such a clever strategy by Triumph. I mean, if you look at the target market, if you don't have the budget for a bigger bike, or you're a novice and you don't want to get on a big and heavy bike, or you're a little bit older and you don't want to lug around a big bike, or you're intimidated by the horsepower, newbies getting onto the brand, staying with the brand, it is a stunning strategy. And for Triumph to get it right, you have to give that Triumph feel that you're on the brand, you want to stay with the brand. And just having a look at them, having not ridden them, I can tell you the silhouette is spot on, the graphics are there, the build quality, it looks like it's spot on there. I mean, these things are designed in the UK and then only assembled in India, so it is a true Triumph, and I couldn't actually wait to get onto them and test them. However, life got in the way, and what I mean with that, my warehouse, the new Route 21 garage that I'm busy building, renovating that warehouse, I've been busy 8 weeks in that, so I couldn't get on these bikes to ride them. And next up, 2 years ago, I was at World Ducati Week, and that happens every 2 years. It's happening this year at the end of July, and I'm going back to Italy. I've made it happen that I can be there. I'm going to bring you an episode of World Ducati Week there again, and some stuff from Italy, maybe some museums again. But today, here and now, I'm going to test, ride and review these two stunning Triumphs, the Triumph Speed 400 in blue here and the Triumph Scrambler 400X behind me here. I'm going to first go through the specs of the two bikes, show you what they share in components and where they are very different bikes, and then I'm going to get on and ride the two back to back. Now here in front of me are the two Triumph 400 options. In blue on the left is the Triumph Speed 400. The red one on the right is the Triumph Scrambler 400X. Stunning option, modern classics, and why I rave about them is because the segment is really important for any manufacturer, and I think Triumph got it right. And why I say that, because from the launch, the build quality, the seat feel and touch of it feels true Triumph. And I'm talking about the quality of the paintwork, quality of the components, the assembly. And on that point, it's conceived and designed in Hinckley in the UK, these bikes, true British bikes, and then assembled in India. And I think that's because it's a budget bike, and on the labor costs you can save. So a proper little motorcycle. And if you look at the silhouette is there, the attention to detail when it comes to build quality. Have a look at the exhaust header clamps, the black powder coated engine casings, the gold anodized forks, the bold graphics on the tanks, concealed liquid cooling, the radiator like the bigger siblings, prominent tank graphics taken directly off the bigger siblings. I mean, really stunning bikes. They were launched in India, obviously, where they assembled in 2023, and to the rest of the world launched this year in 2024. They share a lot of components, but then there's a lot of components that makes them really unique and different, these two bikes. Now, just overall picture, engines they share, frames very different on the two, rear swing arm and rear suspension they share, the front discs bigger on the Scrambler, the travel front and rear different on both bikes. Having a different frame gives it a different geometry, more leg room here, less leg room there. and bigger handlebars. I think a few more accessories spec'd on this Scrambler to make it different. But let's go through in detail and start off with the engine, which both bikes share, same motor. So having a look at this little motor, again, I love the way Triumph gets it right. You've got the fins over here, making it look like an old school motor, air cooled, but it's actually liquid cooled. You can hardly see from the side view that radiator. It is a Euro 5 compliant motor, 4-stroke double overhead cam, single piston, 4 valves, a 398cc, which makes it a 400, liquid cooled. Now the power output on this is 40 horsepower, which equates to about 29.4 kilowatts at 8,000 RPMs. Torque is 38 Newton meters at 6,500 RPM. And the trick is, when I get to ride it, are you tap dancing on the gear lever going up and down, or is there enough torque to make it a really tractable, rideable motor, which I believe this is. All of this power goes through a wet multi-plate with assist, slipper function, clutch, 6-speed gearbox, final drive being chain. And what I really love about this, the Scrambler I'm looking at here, have a look at this exhaust going back, and you have the dual muffler at the back. So different exhaust on the two bikes. You see a single muffler over here, different frames. The bolt-on rear subframe is the same, the rear swing arm is the same. Now again, suspension, as I mentioned, both of these bikes have a 43mm shower front. However, travel here is 139.7mm, 150mm on the Scrambler. The dual swing arm with a single shock at the back is 129.4mm. Travel on the speed on the Scrambler 150. So yes, the Scrambler 150mm travel front and rear. The travel on the speed is 139.7 front, 129 at the back. And when it comes to brakes, front brakes, both of these have a single disc. However, the Speed has a 300mm disc up front, the Scrambler a 320mm disc, both with 4-piston calipers, brakes being the same. The calipers at the rear, they both have the same, they share the same single disc 230mm with a floating caliper. Now again, when it comes to the wheels, they both have the 10-spoke cast alloy wheel. However, the Speed has 17-inch front and rear shod with 110 and a 150. The Scrambler has the traditional 19-inch up front shod with 100, and at the back the 17-inch shod with a 150. So same design, same concept, 10-spoke cast alloy wheels. However, the only difference, the 19-inch on the Scrambler, and that gives it the complete different geometry, and I think that's why they have a different frame that gives you a completely different ergonomics. Two different bikes sharing the same motor. Now just talking about the dimension, overall dimension, length 2058, 2117, so a little bit like 2 inches, 795, 825. A little bit different in width, obviously Scrambler wider, and the height 1075, 1190 over here, obviously the Scrambler being the taller. Wheelbase 1377, 1418 millimeters over here. Those are just overall specs. What's interesting, seat height. The seat height on the Speed is 790, 835 on the Scrambler, so that's nearly 2 inches. It's 45 millimeters. The weight is 170 kilos on the Speed, 179 on the Scrambler, so 9 kilos difference, not the end of the world. Both tanks have 13 liters. Now instruments, analog speedo with integrated multifunction LCD display, and I'll show you that over here. And as you can see, the old school LCD, I mean LCD, we don't have a full TFT color display here, but it is the budget bike, but it gives you everything including gear indicator. So I think well thought out, well placed, and plenty more than sufficient. Both bikes have USB ports, ride-by-wire throttle, traction control, ABS, torque assist clutch, the LED lighting all round, and there are over 25 accessories in the catalog. So you can see a lot of the technology from the bigger bikes, the safety features have found their way to these little bikes, just enough to keep it a budget bike, not over the top to make them expensive and out of this price category of the entry-level bikes. Now what the Scrambler has is a few more accessories to differentiate it as standard, and There are a few extras on these two bikes, which I'll go through now, but the standard features on the Scrambler would be this headlight grille over here, the skid plate down at the bottom, the dual mufflers on the side as I pointed out, the hand guards over here, and the wider, higher handlebars with this sponge protection embroidered with Triumph. Those are the standards that you get on the Scrambler, and as mentioned, over 25 accessories you get for these 400s. What's not standard on the Scrambler would be this plate at the back, these LED indicators over here, and this lower Nerf bar, crash bar on the Scrambler. On the Speed, what's not standard would be, I think, only the top and bottom crash bars. Bottom crash bars same as that one, but that one also has the top bar, and here you can see what the original standard indicators look like versus the LED. So that's pretty much the two bikes, what they share and what makes them different. So if you start talking, yes, the same motor, because they're both that category, but very, very different. You have much more travel, you have bigger frame over here, so it is a different ergonomic, and that's why I want to ride these back to back and see what they feel like. So enough waffling from my side, let's jump on and go for a ride of these two bikes. Okay, a bit of trivia to start this bike. This is the first Triumph. You do not need to pull the clutch in. You can just push the start button, and as you can see, it fires up. Stunning little clock. If I say analog, you see everything neutral. All the information you need is there. For a budget bike, it is still a stunning clock. Now let's go for that little bit of a spin. I'm not going to do a long ride, as this is just really a back-to-back. I want to see how this little motor performs and what the ergonomics is like on these two bikes back to back. So first impressions on this bike, very, very comfortable. The ergonomics are great. I'm sitting upright. If you want to commute here, I'm in 4th gear, I'm just rolling on, I'm going uphill. The torque is enough. It's not gonna set your hair on fire or scare the bejeebies out of you, but plenty power to accelerate and go through the gearbox. So a nice little mix of torque and power. I'm going to do a short loop here, going to include everything, a little bit of traffic, a little bit of lane splitting, as well as highway. Want to see how she performs. All the controls soft but tactile. Buttons are big enough, so if you have gloves, it's not too busy, not intimidating. Nowadays you have really complicated bikes with rider aids, different modes, a lot to dial in from suspension, traction control. From that point of view, a simplistic bike, an everyday bike to get into. Everything is very simple, easy to get used to. If you see, if I accelerate, I mean, it's still going. Here you can see going up to 130, 140. I'm in 6th gear, everything's visible and stunning. Nothing to complain about. Obviously there's no wind protection, it's quite noisy in the helmet because of the bike what it is. It's a Speed 400. Triumph has the bigger one in the range, and this just does look the part. Very stable. Power's there plenty. It easily holds the speed limit of 120. There are a few vibrations coming through the feet, the foot pegs and the hand. It's a nice wide handlebar, good feel, sitting upright, absolutely zero weight, lower back, forearms, wrists, very, very comfortable. Visibility with these mirrors, handlebar ends, I mean, it is clear, it's brilliant. Everything is simple. You don't need a PhD to ride this bike. As mentioned, holds the speed. It is light, it's nimble, it's flickable, and this is what I would say is the perfect blend for a novice. And I think as a target market, what I always say, the industry I'm in it is very important to get the young people in onto your brand, because if you ask anyone what was your first car, everybody remembers, and everybody has sort of a soft spot. It's the same thing. What is the first bike you've ridden? I mean, everybody knows who watches my channel, my very first bike was a Yamaha DT50 way back in 1986. So I've been biking for many years, but I still have that little bit of a soft spot for Yamaha. When we watch World Superbikes, you always watch what's happening with Yamaha, the brand's doing. So to get the young ones, the first time riders onto your brand is important. Have a look at that, super perky overtake, no problem. I didn't change down, kept it in 6th gear, no problem. So to give them a bike that looks and feels pretty much like the big one, gives you that build quality of the big one, is important, because they won't be disappointed and you really get in on the brand. Now if I was 16 or 18, even later on in years, and my very first bike would be something like this, I can tell you immediately I am not disappointed. For a budget bike, for an entry-level bike, and I've ridden them all. I think I might just do an episode on the entry-level bikes of BMW, KTM and bikes like that compared to this. Maybe I'll do a bit of a comparison, but this is first impressions at the top end. It's a really solid bike. I love it from appearance, cosmetics, build quality, and this little motor, I would say, is perky. Here we go. I rolled on just to overtake that car. I didn't change down. I'm not tap dancing. I'm not doing a Michael Flatley on the gear lever. It's just simple. I love the finer details. All these levers, brake and clutch, are blacked out. The motor's blacked out. Have a look at these handlebar end mirrors. It is a proper little bike. It doesn't feel like the components are cheap and just assembled. If I just roll on, now I'm going downhill, but it's nimble. You can throw it around, you can lane split. You know, the widest part on this bike are these two mirrors. A track straight, comfortable. All the information you need is on here. It is a light bike at wet weight, 170 kilos, so all round non-intimidating, with the 40 horsepower, the 170 kilos, the seat height 795, wider handlebars. It does feel good. Here, if I just accelerate, leave the gear, weave through traffic, doing a little bit of hooligan stuff, you can ride this thing. And you can see there's no white knuckle holding on to the handlebars. It is stable. Ergonomics wise, the seat is soft, it is plush, comfortable. The seating position, if you have a look, my thighs do run down, they fit into the tank here, and the feet here at the bottom are in a sporty, they're not mid-mount, my heels are under my bum, so very sporty. The gear lever, simple. Have a look at that. Both feet are flat on the floor, knees are really bent. I can roll back like this. It is comfortable. Now everything is soft, everything is easy to use, big enough buttons. The clutch lever, you don't get forearm pump, it's soft. The gear selection, not notchy at all, it's quite smooth actually. Initially I thought you might get a false neutral because it's not that notchy. Rolling on here, you can see I don't really have to rev it that crazily, and it's perky. It's a proper runner, so I am not disappointed. I've been waiting for nearly 2 months to get on this, and again, not Triumph's fault. They've offered me these bikes to go test some time ago, so thank you to them again. And it's been myself with all my commitments and building the dream man cave slash garage in that warehouse, going well on the way. I've done 2 episodes, busy with a 3rd episode, giving you progress. I think in the next 4 weeks it should be done, and then I will let everything dry and cure, like the epoxy coating floor, as I have managed to get it right, to get some tickets to go back to Italy, because every 2 years there's a World Ducati week, and that's when all the riders going to be there. So I'm thinking the Bagnaias and the Marquezes will be there, chase some autographs, do some good footage. I will definitely share that with you, so stay tuned with that one. And the garage, I'm going to upload in the next few days. I'm going to upload another update on that. So we're getting there. Really exciting stuff, and hopefully one day I can review from there as well. So as you can see, lane splitting, get to the front immediately, drop the clutch and off you go. Clutch operation really soft, brakes sufficient. If you look in the mirror, I've dropped everyone, not a problem. In traffic, very nippy and perky little motor. You can definitely get some fines. I mean, I'm already well over the speed limit here by 20 kilometers an hour, so nothing to complain about. So as I was saying, guys, stay tuned to the channel. In the next few weeks, end of July, I will bring you the episodes from Italy, World Ducati week. Maybe I'll do some museums again in Italy, and the next update of my man cave, the Route 21 garage, is coming. But for now, we're heading back to Triumph, because from this bike I'm going to jump onto the Scrambler. And in a previous episode I did a review on my Scrambler. It was the ultimate Scrambler, because I've got the competition green Thruxton R, which is just the Grand Slam, as I called it, British bike, famous British racetrack, British color, so all round fantastic. And then I wanted the ultimate Scrambler, and the ultimate Scrambler being the 1200, not just any old 1200, the Steve McQueen, and that comes in that same competition green. So when my garage is up and done, I'm going to do a side-by-side on that, just to share that with you. Exciting stuff coming up. Alright, now you see I'm sitting on the red bike, which is the Scrambler. When you're in neutral, again, I don't have to push the clutch, and the bike fires up. Now, in my day, these little bikes were all kickstart. And how cool is it to have entry-level bike with no kickstart, electric start? Easy, comfortable, and very different bike. You sit much taller. I immediately realized that you need to have slightly longer legs for this bike. The seat height of 45mm, which is nearly 2 inches, makes quite a big difference. Handlebars come up higher, so my arms aren't quite as far down. I'm still sitting upright. The seat feels firmer, and it feels like I have more leg room, which obviously I should have with a bigger frame. It should give me more distance from the foot pegs to the seat. So very different ride. Same bike, very different ride. The gearing does feel slightly different. I mean, these are both fairly new bikes with 1,000 odd kilometers on them each, so they're not well ridden in. But torque wise, 4th gear again. This feels like it has slightly shorter gearing. I can't say if it actually has, or if it's just in my mind. It feels very different. The whole look and feel of the bike, handlebars coming higher, these mirrors coming higher off the handlebars, not the handlebar mirrors. So completely different bike. Same bike, yet different. Interesting. Again, 4th gear through the yield, and enough torque. I'm on an uphill and it's pulling hard. 100 in 4th already, in 5th gear going past 100, and off you go. I haven't even joined the highway and I'm already doing 130 over the speed limit. I'm sitting upright. You can hear it's getting noisy. I'm at 140, well over the speed limit. So really nice motors. I must say, for what I thought it would be motor wise, it does feel stronger than what I had in mind. Perky, nice torque curve, and I think that is the secret. When you have the correct amount of torque, you don't, number one, have to rev the hell out of a bike. Secondly,
you not going through the gearbox like a hooligan, tap dancing up and down. So those are sort of the secrets of having a nice torque, is that it's just a pleasure to ride, it's not hard work and just easy going. And this motor is definitely perky, it's got strong. I'm in 6th gear, I can just roll on and you can see it rocks. You know, at 120 it still pulls when I ask more of it in 6th gear. Yeah, 6th gear, lane splitting easy. This bike definitely overall higher, but overall also wider. It is a proper little bike, and I'm a big fan of a Scrambler, as I mentioned, having started off with that Scrambler by Yamaha back in 1986 and owning the Steve McQueen Scrambler 1200 Triumph. So stunning bike and power. Have a look at that. I'm just illegal speeds. Also, different exhaust note. This bike has a different exhaust note, stable as per the other one, and ergonomic wise, I can tell you, you feel your arms are slightly higher, your hands are more or less the height of your elbows. The other one you're further down, but again in this position I'm super neutral. There is no strain on the lower back. I'm sitting upright, perfectly upright. There's no weight on my wrists or forearms. The thighs run down. If you have a look, they sit nicely in this bike. It has the tank pads, which are standard, and the feet are more relaxed, also more space. The bike tracks beautifully. Have a look at that. I'm accelerating and one hand just cruising, and it's a proper little thing. And nothing loose, nothing rattling. The rear view mirrors, I can't even see my shoulder. I have to lean over to see my shoulder, so it really looks past me. And again, the clock, everything is there, from kilometers, fuel range, the petrol, revs, range, it's all there. Just relaxing a little bit, leaning back. This bike tracks beautifully. If I let go, have a look at that. It is very stable, it tracks beautifully, and non-intimidating. Slightly heavier at 179 kilos, however it does feel light. There's a little bit more input required when throwing the bike over. I've noticed the speed is easier to grab the bends left and right. It feels with this Scrambler, it wants to stand upright more, so you have to coax it a little bit harder to tip it in, but nothing hectic. If I roll on to overtake quickly, a bit of hooliganism, there's plenty here. And again, all the controls and levers are proper. The little hand guards over here, all standard stuff. The balance point again of this bike is stunning. I didn't put my feet down. You can balance nicely and pull off simple. You don't think, no fear of stalling. Lower RPMs, lane splitting here. It definitely does feel bit of a shorter gearbox. Short shifting makes sense for doing a bit of off-roading. The speed felt like it had more legs per gear, and just all-round package. What's missing? There's enough safety features in this bike to find a nice balance between budget bike and a modern classic, giving you the classic lines yet modern rideability, modern safety features, traction control, ABS, all there. On the off-road, you can switch off your ABS and have some fun, light up and spin up the back wheel a little bit, which is what you would want if you want a Scrambler for that purpose which it's made for. Obviously not hardcore off-roading, but definitely off the beaten track and a bit of gravel road. This would be a fun little weapon. Again, controls identical. The feel of the bike, I must say, very different. Very different bike. And how to choose, which one to choose, both have something that speak to me. I would most probably go for the Scrambler, but that's because of my preferences. I don't think there's much in it. I think for everyday road riding, the Speed would be the better one. However, if you want the versatility and just awesome good looks of a Scrambler, this is the one you'd go for. So in conclusion, you have two bikes that share the same platform when it comes to motor. However, platform when it comes to frame and suspension, very, very different bikes. Ergonomic wise, when you sit on the two bikes, there is no comparison. Very, very different bikes. If I just stop here and you have a look, definitely straighter, the legs higher up, the hands are in a different place, the ergonomics, the whole geometry, very different. So you have a budget bike, an entry-level bike into the Triumph brand that is, in my opinion, superb and value for money. Really stunning. I would say one of the best that I have ridden when it comes to entry-level motorcycles. I'm really impressed. The versatility, the target of both. You don't have two different bikes that are just different cosmetically. They feel slightly different mechanically, they sound different, they look different, and they ride different. So, you know, you've got different size wheels, you've got different size suspension travel, different frames, completely different geometry, and with a different gearing, definitely shorter gears on this one. It's two different bikes and a proper little platform. If this was my first Triumph, I would definitely be pro the brand. So in my opinion, thumbs up to Triumph, a really fantastic job, and I would love to take one of these and do a little review side by side, the 1200, the 900 and this 400 Scrambler in the Scrambler range. Maybe that's something I'll try and set up. All round, guys, if you want to get into biking, if you want your first Triumph, if you want a daily commuter Triumph, something budget, light, nimble, fuel efficient, this is a proper option, the Triumph 400s. If you look at the stoppers, they really do the job. You have to grab firmly, but work really well. Rear brakes work really well as well. If you have a look at here, look at the feet, I can definitely feel that 45 millimeters, it's nearly 2 inches in height. The handlebars are definitely higher, but nothing strained. You can ride this thing for hours. The visibility of the rear mirrors, all round, the seat is firmer than the Speed. It's two different bikes, and you need to choose. Are you a road kind of guy, or are you a little bit of an adventurer that you would like to do a little bit of the dirt roads as well, or it can even be just mere cool factor to choose a bike. Stunning bikes, guys. I hope you enjoyed this short little ride and review of these two Triumph 400s, the two options. I will definitely take this Scrambler for another review, and I will take it off the beaten track and play with it a little bit longer, put it through its paces. But for now, just a back-to-back comparison of the two Triumph 400s. I hope you enjoyed this little review with me. If you did, please remember, as always, give me a thumbs up, hit that like button, and most important of all, guys, please hit that subscribe button to help me build the channel. And if you like, hit the reminder bell so you always know when I'm uploading something next.